part of the construction, according to the.
You mean here return to the previous dimensions
yes.
that were made by previous studies?
If this is going to be the decision of the consultant, the decision of the consultant might say, well, stop building altogether. Number two, return back to the dimensions which were originally with the small dam, with the small capacity of, and in this case, I'm sure Ethiopia will say, no, we have spent all this money, and our people have paid all this, etc., etc. And this will be another round of negotiations, and they will continue, unfortunately, building their dam. And
exactly, and this is exactly the end of this whole situation. But let me here take it from this end. If we reach that dead end, what happens? I mean, here, can Egypt really file a kind of an international arbitration? And what is Egypt's position regarding this arbitration? Why are we not resorting to that already?
Right now?
Yes.
What, my own interpretation, if you take it, is that the Egyptians are trying to show the world that we have done everything possible to sort of please our partners.
Yes, but this will not appease the people. This will affect their lives.
But let us try to give them all what they seek, what they wanted, what they requested. And after we did all this, we'll show the world that, well, these people are not actually, they don't actually want to end up with a peaceful package. And in this case, we are still peaceful. We'll go to mediation from some other parties before we go to arbitration, before we go to the Security Council, because before we go to the General Assembly, and before we go to the International Court of Justice. This is the way to do things, and we have to follow this path. But before we do all this, we'll go in the direction of negotiations and agreements, if possible. If we did not agree, then that's life.
Let me a little bit go deep into the problem. Why is this Ethiopia pressing Egypt and very much insisting on doing or on carrying on with this dam, knowing by heart that it is affecting Egypt? What is the core problem here? What is that we are not really putting our hand? What is the reality here?
The reality, you said it in your report here. The reality is that Egypt has its quota agreed upon by two different treaties, 1929 and 1959. Both agreements are not agreeable to Ethiopia. And when the Prime Minister or whoever in Ethiopia say, well, we are not actually after deducting just one single bottle of water from the Egyptian quota. When you ask him what is the Egyptian quota, is it the 1929? Is it the 1959? Is it the 55.5 billion cubic meters? He would say no. This is not the quota. We have another quota. The other quota is, they say that the runoff of the river is 100 billion cubic meters. Kenya has the right to take some, Uganda, Ethiopia, Tanzania, Sudan, and finally Egypt. And when you ask them what are the Egyptians are going to get by the end of the day, they'll say, well, the Egyptians will be getting something between 35 and 40 billion cubic meters. And this, nobody in Egypt will accept that at all.
It's not that nobody accepts that. It's the natural flow of the Nile. He cannot even prevent that. And this is one concern, the safety of the dam itself. But let me, it's not about him or the Ethiopians agreeing on the treaties or not. It's not the matter of the treaties or whether or not they agree that, or what they claim that these treaties were put during the colonization time and all this issue. No, what exactly is the core problem between Egypt and Ethiopia that can be put on the table, resolve it, and find a real solution to the dispute?
This is the problem actually, because there is plenty of water around. We have the river Nile is the water in the Nile is the quantity is sufficient for everybody to take. We were hoping one day to have this Baro, Obako, Okabo, and the Mashar marshes. And we have the Mashar marshes were exactly like the Jonglei Canal business, and we were trying to get to capture as much losses from these two areas as possible in favor of the countries of South Sudan now, Sudan itself, and Egypt. But now with the dams Ethiopia is putting everywhere in the system, this water will not be available to Egypt, and the water might go to the Red Sea, but will not come to Egypt. And this is a historical jealousy of the Ethiopians. This is number one. Number two, it's also recently they were encouraged by some other powers in the world that you are going to take the role of the Egyptians in the
African
region.
continent.
And this appears to be, I'm not a politician myself, but this is what we hear from here and there, and they are pushed by other countries, and everybody knows that there is some tricky and probably, I don't say, yani, political interventions from other parties in the world pushing Ethiopia to do this. This is the political side. We are not going, it's not
Problem
mine
right now, yes.
even. Yani,
But what also concerns us is the position of Sudan, and the position of Sudan is also very important since it is mediating the negotiations and it is within the experts team.
I believe also that we will be very naive if we say that that Sudan is innocent, because Sudan has some interest. Sudan is probably promised to get very cheap energy, and Sudan is in a big problem because they lost their petrol in the southern part of the country with the independence of South Sudan, and they are in a big problem. In addition to these ups and downs between Egypt and Sudan because of Halaib and Shalatin, etc., etc. So the situation of Sudan is not very innocent. The situation of Sudan is a little bit biased, and it was clearly biased after this business of the Renaissance Dam, because I'm sure that they will be hardly and strongly affected by this dam in several points. I'm not here to repeat them, but I do not claim that I know their business than they do, but many experts from all over the world say that Sudan is going to be hit as much as Egypt by the construction of this dam.
Dr. Qosy, as an international water expert, in 2 minutes, what's your expectation if that dam goes on? I mean, if it was really built?
It's not my expectation, it's the calculations of so many experts in the world. Mind the fact that this dam is not the end of the world, and they have shown us that with the construction of this dam, they start some other dams on the Sobot, on the river Sobot. And on the Blue Nile itself, there will be Mandaya, Biko Apo, and the others. So it will not be the end of the story. It is only the beginning. If Ethiopia can get away with the construction of this dam, then the whole region will be in a big problem, and obviously Egypt will be hardly hit by these consequences. And I believe that nobody in Egypt here is ready to accept any of these consequences at all. We have already a deficit of 10 billion, at least 10 billion cubic meters in our budget, and with another deficit of another 10 billion, then nobody can bear it. And in order to desalinate 10 billion cubic meters of water from the Red Sea or the Mediterranean,
yes.
this means 10 billion times 10 Egyptian pounds. That's 100 billion Egyptian pounds every year. And our budget cannot afford all this burden.
Indeed, indeed. We are here expecting a meeting between President Sisi and the Ethiopian Prime Minister. Hopefully that would find any concrete and positive results and would come out with something positive. Dr. Diaa Qosy, international water expert, we thank you very much for joining us today and for your input.
My pleasure. Thank you very much.
A pleasure always. Dear viewers, many thanks for watching. Tomorrow would be another episode with another colleague and another contentious debate. Good night.